Okay, so thanks. It's so good to be here with everybody, and I just want to start by giving a little bit of background about why this particular webinar. At NPCA, we have been developing and trying to figure out what kind of career services we can provide for RPCVs in a myriad of ways over the years. And most recently, we've been focusing, and I've been helping the efforts to develop a career center. And at the same time, to meet the needs of everyone who's been recently evacuated because of the coronavirus, we're really looking to ramp up the ways that we can serve everyone virtually. And so I know that both the people who have recently returned, as well as a lot of everybody else, that this has been a really challenging time, and that there's a lot of financial struggles, regardless if you're employed or not. And so we also know that for people who were expecting to come back from Peace Corps to jump into a traditional job search, there are so many hiring freezes in places at many of the places that you want to work. So this webinar is really here to help you take advantage of this time when the traditional job search is just impossible. And so we'll be providing you tools to help you leverage what you do have through an evidence-based step-by-step process, and with the goal of really positioning you for an exciting and meaningful career. So we're not looking to see what can help you get a job tomorrow, as much as setting you up for when things start to kind of come back to normal or develop into a new normal, so that you're positioned for work that you are really excited about and where you can make a contribution. So this webinar is really teaching you how to coach yourself. So we're not going to be diving into tips and tricks on specifically the job search, although we are going to have a pretty extensive Q&A portion of this. But really talking about the process of creating and building a future for yourself that you're excited about, and how to keep you moving forward when things are tough. And so at the end of this webinar, I will talk to you about how to access, how to sign up for the Global Reentry Program if you haven't done that already, how to access the tools that we're going to be talking about, and some of the other support that we're making available to you. And so I just want to start out by acknowledging that this is a really difficult and scary time. And especially for those who were recently serving as Peace Corps volunteers and have gone through a really abrupt and painful transition. And a lot of us have done that, even if we weren't recently evacuated. And so just know that feelings of grief and anger and frustration and fear, these are all things that are normal and expected and completely understandable. And also be aware that that combined with unemployment can start a really vicious cycle, where that fear and anger feeds in on itself, and then the fear about not being able to make enough money and all of that kind of stuff. And so the reason why I want to bring this up is because it's important that you are okay with the feelings that you're feeling. And it's also important that you intentionally look for moments of joy, for ways to be creative, and for ways to take advantage and take action toward a hopeful future for yourself. And all of this can kind of cut that vicious cycle off so that you're able to actually do the types of things that are going to set you up for the future that is around the corner. So by going through this, I want you to throw away the traditional job search mentality with all of its mind-numbing online applications and tedious resume rewrites and the dreaded cover letters. And I instead want you to embrace your inner artist, and that you are going to be designing your epic masterpiece, your future, and your right fit career. And so you're going to do this in my career design studio. So this is to set you up for creatively building your future. So I'm going to walk you through the program and show you how you can coach yourself to this future. And so just a couple of things about it is that there are some gamification elements that I'll talk through, and that this is a complete program. And what I mean by that is it has everything from career assessments and understanding your strengths to salary negotiation and interview prep, and everything from how to network to how to identify jobs that are a good fit for you. And so everything that's on here, so this is a program that I've developed based on positive psychology research and career coaching best practices. And it was really designed to help people coach themselves and provide customized ways of approaching your job search. Okay, so now I am shifting my screen so that we can go into my career design studio. And so if you're not able to see this, please send me a comment, but otherwise I'm going to be ignoring the comments because I can only multitask so much. So when you first create an account, there's going to be a little tutorial that walks you through what all of this is about. And so that is something that I really recommend that you do. And I also want to be a little fancy here and have my little spotlight mouse here. And so as you start going through the tutorial and as you start going through the program, you're gonna be earning some inspiration stars, and you can trade these in for motivational quotes if you need a little emotional pick-me-up, but also these motivation medals, and they help you level up. So this person, which would be me, is on level 5, but also you'll be earning persistence points. And so all of these are kind of conceptualized to help you move forward through a process that can be a little overwhelming and tedious. Hopefully not tedious, but a little overwhelming and sometimes difficult. There are a lot of self-reflection questions that you have to go through to be able to find and build the right kind of career for yourself. And so when you're entering my career design studio, you're really becoming a virtual mosaic artist. And so you can see this mosaic that's starting to be built as you go through this. It's going to end up with a little inspirational setting once you've finished all of the activities. And so you'll be able to see your progress as you go forward. So like an artist working on your masterpiece, you're going to be going through 4 main stages of work. So your raw materials is where you're going to inventory everything that you have to work with. Your Napkin Sketch allows you to play with different possibilities before you commit to a design about your future. And then Career Design is a place to plan and structure and organize your projects. And then my Career Creation Tools helps you to turn your design into reality. Then there's also a little portfolio that you can build on to keep track of your accomplishments throughout your career. And so basically, one of the reasons why I created my career design studio was because when people are looking for work, they often struggle with what to do next. And so my career design studio gives you activities that lead you all the way up to and even after getting a job. So I want to talk a little bit about what you're actually going to be doing as you coach yourself using my career design studio. And so, under raw materials, this gives you a career assessment that leads you to, let's see, yeah. So there's a career assessment that gives you results based on your personality, your preferences, and your interests. And you also have a way to track your strengths and challenges, your values, to think about your future with a life map, and also to think about kind of your ideal day and what a balanced life looks like for you. So then the Napkin Sketch, this is where you're going to review and prioritize your career design essentials. So actually, let me back up for a second and show you the activities. So this is my preferences. And this is something that a lot of people might be familiar with as the Myers-Briggs type indicator. So your assessment gives you a way to identify yourself in some traditional and non-traditional ways. And a lot of times if you take a career assessment, you'll get a lot of verbiage about who you are. This really focuses on what is important to you. And so here's what I call career design essentials that are specific to people who score similarly to me as an INFP, introverted, intuitive, feeling, and perceptive. And so then I went through to check the qualities that best describe me. And not everything is relevant, so this gives you an opportunity to see what is and what isn't. And then also to select the strengths that are common for people who scored this way, as well as your challenges. Also, you get an opportunity to look at the kind of work context that is going to be a good fit for you. What type of things do you want to do on a daily basis that you want to do? Work style, what is important for you? Is it important that you have a way to where your efforts are moving towards mastery? Do you want to be in a place where your concern for others is important in the work that you're doing? So this gives you the opportunity to select what's most relevant for you. And then when you get into the Napkin Sketch, and you're looking at the career design essentials, you're able to add something additional to that. And then you're also able to prioritize what's most important to you for all of these different areas. And once you do that, then the program is able to give you some ideas about jobs that you might not have thought about. And so it takes a while to get there, but it's also really important to go through these steps. This is not you take an assessment and then you get your responses. You take an assessment and then you learn more about who you are and what's important to you. This is super important in the coaching process, and this is why this has been designed in this respect. So then once you start getting into the career design component, then you start matching your ideas with reality. And so you can start looking to see what might be the best kind of fits for you. And so, for example, this is what I scored as what I have to have in my career. And then I was able to compare that to a career outreach strategist, research teacher, career consultant. You know, obviously this is me. And, but then you've got a numerical score about what fits you best based on the criteria that you have selected. And this is also the place for you to start thinking through what kind of information do you need to know, or what kind of skills do you need for these different ideas, so you can do a gap analysis. So obviously I've been very, very thorough in going through this, but here are the job requirements that I have. This is what I need, ways that you can obtain them. So again, I hope that you're seeing how this just really walks you step by step into thinking through what kind of future is really going to fit you. Then you'll also be thinking about who can I talk to in order. So you've got these questions. For some reason I put in fashion designer. That really isn't me. If you saw what I looked like, you would understand why this is kind of funny. But then that gives you an opportunity to think about who might I want to talk to about teaching, and what are the things that we have in common? What do I want to talk about? And to set up an agenda for an informational interview. So it will also walk you through how to research organizations, how to leverage LinkedIn. So there's really a wealth of information here. And then once we get to the career creation tools, once you know what you want to do, then you can actually market yourself for those specific positions, because being able to position yourself for a fashion designer is going to look really different than as a teacher. And your LinkedIn profile, your resume, your cover letters, your elevator speech, all of these things should be setting you up for what you want to do. So if you don't know what that is, then it's very, very difficult to write a compelling resume. It's really difficult to get hired. But when you know, here are the strengths that I have that feed into this particular position and fits the values of this particular organization, and you can talk about that and share that in many ways, then you're positioned to get a job that you really love once we're able to go out and about again. And so not only that, but it also, you know, walks you through how to write up cover letters, and also salary negotiation preparations, interview prep, that kind of thing. And throughout this process, there's also a virtual coach over here. So she can be turned into somebody else if you want to be coached by another kind of person. And so this person is going to give you some more specific instructions. So if the instructions and the activity are a little too basic, then you can click on your career coach and get some additional instructions about how to go about doing this, and also get some and to get a suggestion when you are feeling stuck. And here's something that I want to pause on, and it's talking about every artist has at least one critic. Every person has at least one critic, either inner or outer, or sometimes both. And so when you are doubting yourself, then if you go to my art critic, you'll see a ton of activities here to keep you moving forward. And so you can see activities to get you unstuck, to boost your mood, to help you overcome regret, to overcome doubt, or just to rejuvenate and refresh. And so, so again, when you need a little bit of a break, actually, this isn't the one that I wanted to show. So then you can come here and basically, again, based on research, nature is a way to kind of recalibrate our system. And being in nature is super helpful, but research has shown that even just looking at pictures of beautiful scenery can calm down the nervous system and relax us and help us feel a little bit more centered and more in control. And so here, these are some of the ways, again, that my career design studio doesn't just help you with focusing on your career, but also can help you when you're just struggling, because we're all going through this right now. And so taking a breathing break, going for a walk, all of these are really good reminders. Hopefully you're doing a lot of this. My career design studio can help you to remember to do some of these things. Okay, so this is basically the tool that we are offering, and so I also, let's see, wanting to change things. Okay, so we're back to my career design studio. And so basically, again, I wanted to go through this really quickly so that we would have some time to talk about what's up for you. But with this understanding of what NPCA can provide to help you in this journey. And so everyone who is a member of the Global Reentry Program will receive free 3 months access to my career design studio. And so we'll be sending more information to you about that early next week. And so when you sign up for my career design studio, you'll also get some email support. You'll get an interactive email career guide that helps you to really, again, to coach yourself and to leverage my career design studio so that you keep moving forward even when you're not really feeling it. And so we're also in the process of figuring out how we can best support all RPCVs who are struggling with the job search during this pandemic. And so, so again, register for this webinar if you haven't already, and then our follow-up email, you will be getting some ideas. Let me rethink that. You'll be getting our ideas of what we can do to support you. And so I also have a Facebook group where I just give a little daily task. And some of it's some things like take a moment to feel grateful for one thing that's happening in your life, or it might be plan for this coming week. So if that kind of accountability or that kind of just structure is useful for you, then you can join my Facebook group. You can search for my career design studio, but we'll also be sending a link to that. And so next month we are planning on I was planning on doing a webinar focusing on LinkedIn and kind of how to do virtual informational interviews. And so, however, we want to be responsive to where the needs are. And so if you've got any other suggestions, please put that in the chat. And also, we also have a, survey, a satisfaction survey that you can fill out and give us some of your ideas. And so that being said, like I said, I haven't been paying attention to what's going on in the chat, and it looks like there's been a lot. And so, so what I want to do is invite people to, again, either ask questions about my career design studio, ask questions about where you're specifically stuck right now, or to give some suggestions on how we can make this better for you. So, so Anne, I just want to ask if there's anything that that's been coming up in the chat that would be useful for me to respond to.
Yeah, thank you so much, Rhonda. I think one of the questions that came up early on was, you know, a little bit more about, well, how do we get access to this, my career design studio? And thank you. I didn't catch the name of the person who put it in the chat, that yes, this is part of your global reentry. And NPCA created the global reentry program to really respond directly to the needs, in particular, of the evacuated volunteers. I mean, this is an unprecedented time, and to have everybody suddenly coming home, and we know that this is a challenge for you, and you hadn't anticipated necessarily being in this position right now. So it's the global reentry program is free to you. You just have to sign up. I put the link in the chat, but you can just go right to our homepage, peacecorpsconnect.org, or if you don't want to type that much, I'll give you a hint. You can just put in rpcv.org, and that'll get you the same place. And right there on the homepage, you'll see the Global Reentry Program. Just click on that, you'll learn more. So it's about jobs and careers. It's about scholarships. It's about, you know, support for you. And we want to hear from you too, and let us know what you need and what support you need from the program. It's absolutely free. And thank you to Dr. Ansted, who's giving you 3 months of free access to her platform. And so please take advantage of that. We'll send the details. You all registered for this meeting today, and we'll follow up with the details on how to sign up for that. But it looks like while I've been chatting here, we've got a couple other questions that have come in. And let's see, let's start with the first one here from Alicia. Do you have recommendations for folks interested in career transitioning to a sector that is hurting in the current pandemic? So hospitality, travel, industry, etc. And actually, I'll mention before Dr. Ansted gets to that question too, is some of the other opportunities we're sharing through this global reentry program. FEMA is hiring, for example. We're just sending up something. The state of Michigan reached out to us saying they need people with health backgrounds to help out in the pandemic. All sorts of people are reaching out to us. So we will be posting those as they come in, and they're coming in every day, posting it to the global reentry page. And we send weekly emails out to the global reentry folks on Tuesdays. So make sure that you have signed up for that free global reentry membership. You'll get those weekly emails, but check that website daily because we are updating it daily. But I'll let Dr. Ansted jump in there and respond to that further, but I wanted to throw that out there, that is what we are hearing, is that there are lots of people who want to hire you and want to use your skills and your experiences. And so we're just doing the best we can to connect you to those opportunities.
Yeah, thank you, Anne. And, you know, this is, and thanks, Alicia. I mean, I think that this is something that I've been thinking about a lot, is that, you know, with every kind of crisis, there are industries that are ramping up and industries that are devastated. And so if you're interested in, you know, like hospitality, obviously the hotels and, you know, that industry is laying people off versus hiring. And so there's a couple of things that I think is really important. One is to remember although this pandemic is changing the landscape, it's not going to be radically different than when we started. Some things are going to be different, but people will still want to travel and take vacations after this. People are still going to want to go to restaurants, and so the restaurants might change, but we will come back. And so I think what you want to do is be as clear-headed as possible about when you think the industry you're interested in is going to start ramping up. But in the meantime, what I recommend that you do is you, number one, do research into the industry and really understand what kind of skills they're interested in. You know, going through this process of my career design studio will help you see, here's my strengths, here's what you're looking for, here's how I can be of service. And then once you know exactly what kind of value you can offer the industry, then actually now's kind of a good time to reach out to people who might have been laid off and are experienced, but they don't have the opportunities to do work right now. And often being able to help other people gives us a sense of purpose. And when we lose our job, we lose our sense of purpose as well. So by asking people, obviously you want to do it tactfully and not go to like a LinkedIn group and say, hey, who's been laid off? Who wants to talk to me? But rather to identify people who are doing the kind of work that you wanted to do that you could learn from and establish a connection with. And so this is where doing, conversations over Zoom, which feel a lot more personal than over the phone, and where showing your interest and support and talking to people who have the same kinds of interests as you set you up for when things start coming back. So even if you're not able to apply for jobs, you can still set yourself up for getting a good job once those opportunities become available. You want to think about what you need to do in the meantime. So if there's a skill gap that you have, then go to Coursera or edX or LinkedIn Learning or Udemy, some of these online educational platforms where you can learn new skills. So now's a good time to be doing that. And at the same time, to start making connections with people who are in those industries. So I hope that was helpful. And I'm just going to scroll down. So Nora asked recommendations for balancing time on career planning / coaching and job searches to earn income immediately. Okay, that's a really good question. And so part of this is really prioritization. And so if you are in a really challenging financial situation, then go to NPCA and see who's hiring now. There are a lot of COVID-19 resources to kind of help fill in those gaps, whether that is expanded unemployment insurance or if it is scholarships or, kind of intermediary helpful or, cash or contract work. So I want you to focus on your immediate needs first, but also not so much that you burn out. And so I would recommend that you spend maybe 2 to 3 hours every day looking for work that can help you immediately, and then 1 or 2 hours maybe every day or every other day doing the larger career coaching, the self-coaching program. And so I want you to, we've got to take care of our immediate needs. But if you've got room and energy to think about your future, that's where my career design studio can come in for that. Okay, I hope that was helpful. And so then the next question, if we're lucky enough to get an interview, what advice do you have in explaining simply and clearly the global evacuation to potential employers. So I think that in some ways, I think this is kind of an easy answer because all of our lives have been disrupted. And so to be able to explain that I was with the Peace Corps and was working on A, B, C, and D. And then when the pandemic started to get serious, then Peace Corps evacuated all volunteers before the borders closed. And that's why I'm back here and interested in this kind of job. So you can answer it in a sentence. And what I also want you to think about is how you can then pivot to, and this is how I can serve you. So I actually want to stop for a second and just stop sharing so that I can see your questions a little bit better, and hopefully you can see me a little bit more. And so for example, why did you leave your last post? Well, I was working for the Peace Corps. When the pandemic hit, then we were evacuated before the borders closed. And while I was there, I realized that my real passion was X, which is the job that you're interviewing for. So you do not need to have a big explanation. And what you want to do is, answer the question, but also answer what they're really asking. And what they're really asking would be something like, if you left abruptly, they wondered if you got fired. So obviously you're answering that question. They also might be asking, okay, this was really abrupt. Do you have any specific concerns about starting immediately? And so then you can say, that since I've been back, I've been working on A, B, C, and D, and I'm ready to start contributing to this job in this way. So hopefully that answers your question. Let me know if it doesn't. And so I think the next question might be a better one for you, Anne. How much does NPCA work with the RPCV Peace Corps page? So they've been working, lots of webinars with different federal organizations. And so yeah, I think that the Peace Corps page, that they are ramping that up. I have been seeing that they've been doing a lot of webinars. So Anne, do you have anything to add to that?
Sure. Yeah, happy to answer that one. Yes, there are a lot of webinars, especially from federal agencies that are doing webinars on how to be hired, how to find a job within the federal government, et cetera. I'm just looking now at our global reentry page. We have a lot of them listed. There are probably about a dozen in the next 10 days that are listed on our website. We also, link to the Peace Corps' website where they have a lot of these. So we some of it might be repetitive, and that's not a bad thing because we want to make sure you see it. But it may not be also as comprehensive because, as I mentioned earlier, this is changing daily. Multiple times during the day, all sorts of resources. I think there were probably 4 or 5 webinars yesterday from different agencies that were offering support for evacuated volunteers. Sorry, the pollen here is getting to me. Please look at our website. We have on the global reentry page, we have a lot of those, but that's not necessarily going to be the full list. So I do encourage you to look at the Peace Corps' website as well. And a couple of other comments I want to make on that. One is that we also have, if you are interested in working for the federal government, we do have about a dozen workplace affiliate groups as part of the National Peace Corps Association. So these are RPCVs at State Department, USAID, USDA, EPA, et cetera. Excuse me, boy, this is the pollen. It is a pollen, don't worry. They also are hosting some webinars, and they're a resource for you. You can go to our directory page of our affiliate groups on our website, and you can find those groups, reach out to them, say, I'm interested in working for you. Do you have any advice? And And can you connect me to someone who's working within the agency that I could talk with? And they're happy to receive those. So I encourage you to use that as a resource as well. One other comment, because it came into me as a private chat, and so you didn't all see this earlier, is that yes, there were a lot of people, 7,300 of you were evacuated in March, but there were also people who left earlier. A couple of other programs were closed down earlier, even in late 2019. We encourage you to sign up for the Global Reentry Program as well. If you've already signed up for another membership, you can just let me know and I'll shift it over. And the one person who did ask me, I did shift your membership right now. So you are now part of the Global Reentry. Make sure that you're on that list. And I've also seen a lot of people actually since this webinar started who've signed up for the Global Reentry. So
great.
Take a minute. So please do sign up. But if you have another membership and you want to make sure that you're included in the Global Reentry, just send me a private chat here and I will make sure that you are we can either shift you from another free membership over to Global Reentry, or we can just put you on the email list so that you're part of that program and can take advantage of these resources.
Absolutely. And I think that also kind of feeds into what Olivia was asking. So how to take advantage of non-competitive eligibility for the federal government. And so Olivia, I think that this is a situation where my career design studio and these other resources are really going to be helpful for you, because if you want to work for the feds, but you don't know exactly what you want to do, it's often difficult to get a job because you are, even though you're not competing against everybody and their dog, there's still a lot of people who have been in the federal government for a long time. And so the more you understand yourself, what you have to contribute, and what kind of work you want to do, then the easier it's going to be for you to think in terms of your fit. And the easier it is going to be for you to to talk about that during the interview and during your resume writing. So the federal process is really different than private sector and nonprofit. The federal resume looks a lot different than a private sector and nonprofit resume. And so take advantage of the other resources that NPCA is offering, that Peace Corps is offering. But I know that it's going to be helpful for you to really understand, even if it's not exactly which agency you want to work for, but what kind of job do you want to do? Do you want to do program management? Do you want to, work for USAID and be like a country representative? Do you want to be a diplomat? Do you want to be a research scientist? I mean, the federal government has so many different kinds of careers available to it. And the better fit you have, and the better you can articulate your fit, the easier it's going to be for you to get a job. And so, do your research on what it takes to get a federal job. Lots of free resources available on that, but also do the research in yourself. And what are your strengths? What are the things that make you happy? And my goal as a career coach is not just to help people find jobs, but to help people find jobs that they love, that are meaningful, and where they can make a contribution that they're proud of. And that does not happen by accident. That happens with intentionality. So I really want you to, and my career design studio is not the only way to do this. It's not the only program out there. It's just one that has everything that you need to do kind of in one place and in a step-by-step progression. And so again, you've got 3 months access to that. You can get you can get the whole thing done in 3 months. And so, so that's my recommendation. If you want to take advantage of your non-competitive eligibility, then you certainly want to make sure that you're getting yourself into a job that's a good fit for you. And I think you'll hear lots of stories of people who did get a job in the federal government and either immediately or eventually got really unhappy because it wasn't a fit for them. And that's what I want you to avoid. Fortunately, you've got some time to figure that out. So definitely take advantage of that. And then we've got a question from Sierra about recommendations on how to decide whether to enter into a career or grad school. This is a really great question. In that the process is kind of the same. And that is, I want to help you make that decision. One of the things that can be really helpful is to think through what you want to do 5 years from now. And so just, you know, there's an activity in my career design studio that can kind of walk you through that. But the basics are, you know, imagine everything went wonderfully for you, everything went perfect, and you're in your dream job. What is it? And then once you've got an understanding of what you want to do, then you can kind of work backwards to think, well, what do I need to do to get there? And so then if what you need is a master's in a certain subject, then you get your master's in that subject. If what you need is X number of years of experience, then you get a job to give you that number of years of experience. So, so even though it's often really challenging to think through what you want to be doing 5 years from now, a lot of times it's challenging because we talk ourselves into thinking this is impractical or I don't know how to do that. So, again, once you kind of magic away the doubts at this point and just think, what do I want to do? Then that'll help you understand what do you need to do to get yourself there. So grad school, for grad school's sake, can be a huge waste of time and money if it doesn't lead to a job that you're happy with. So think about what kind of work is going to make you happy and then what you need to do to get yourself there. Grad school is not a great way to kill time until things get better because, again, it can start to pigeonhole you in ways that you might not want to be pigeonholed. So even if you just take a week to think about what you want to do and to really do some of this self-reflection, that's going to help you make these decisions much, much easier than starting, here I am now, what should I do next? It all depends on what you want to do further down in the future. So I hope that's helpful. And okay, grad school, and then, okay, do you think asking for informational interviews going to help ease into the situation a little bit at this stage? So I think that, in a lot of ways, that's exactly right. Informational interviews help you build connections that you can build on once things get back to normal or to our new normal. And so it also helps you build community and can give you really good information like, okay, if you were stuck at home for a month and you wanted this job at the end of that, what kind of skills or training should I be working on now to help get me there? So you can get really good advice if you ask the right questions. And like I said before, there are a lot of people now, I mean, there's a lot of people who are super duper busy and where they're not going to be able to provide an informational interview. But there's going to be some people where they're still employed, but because they're working from home, they're not able to do quite as much. So they have more time to be helpful. Let them be helpful for you. And so RPCV LinkedIn groups and Facebook groups. There's an RPCV jobs group that if you're not a member of, please sign up for that. Those are places where you can ask, hey, I'm interested in this industry. Does anybody have time for a 15 or 30-minute conversation with me? And again, my career design studio can help you think through what kind of questions to ask and then how to follow up so that what you're doing now benefits you once you're able to apply for jobs. One last thing to say about that is that this is also often phrased in terms of networking, which is intimidating for most people. My career design studio calls it partnership building, kind of in that metaphor as an artist works with partners. And so it's not necessarily, passing out business cards. It's about building relationships. And the way that I phrase it with a lot of my clients is that you are looking to build your community with like-minded individuals. So this isn't asking for favors. This is building relationships. And again, most of us join the Peace Corps because we want to make the world a better place. So what I want you to remember is that other RPCVs that are employed and people in the international development or nonprofit, or actually almost any sector, government, private sector, there are people who love their work and want to bring in people that are like-minded who are just as passionate. So take advantage of this time if you're able to make those connections, to ask for informational interviews, and to see, what you can do while we're all kind of in lockdown, but also what are some things that you can start building on when people are hiring again. So I hope that was helpful. Okay, and then we've got find this group, trying to transition careers. Yep, set back by the pandemic. Discounts for my career design studio for RPCVs in general. So, okay, so this was a private conversation, sorry. However, I think that this is a really good question to ask because that will happen, whether it's through NPCA or through me. Personally, I think it's going to be through NPCA to offer people who are job searching through the pandemic right now to get the same 3 free months. We haven't figured out the technology around that, but we are going to be able to, in the email that you'll get early next week, it will be for both the evacuees, but also for anyone who registered for this webinar. So you'll get the option on how you can get the 3 free months and how to sign up for that. So if you're like this person who messaged me privately that I just now outed, and you're not an evacuee, but you're still job searching during a pandemic and you could still really use some support, we're going to offer that to you. We haven't figured it out right for this particular time, but this is not just for evacuees.
Yeah, and I'll jump in here too. Because I've also had a couple private messages from people asking about that, we are happy to add anyone to the email list to get the global reentry emails, to get the benefits of global reentry. You don't have to have been one of the evacuees. If you're on this career webinar, obviously there's somebody who's interested in these resources and these services. And no matter your situation, we welcome you to join us and to be to take advantage of these opportunities. So to make sure you're on the global reentry list, if you're not already in the global reentry list, just make sure you can send me privately in the chat your email address, and I'll make sure that you're added to that list. It doesn't matter, again, when you serve, just make sure that you send me your email in that chat list. I will be the last one off this meeting also, so I'll make sure I save those chat messages and add you. But I'll also put my email in there. And you can also email me at any time and mention that you were on the webinar. You want to make sure that you're added to the Global Reentry, and we'll make sure that you do get added to that. And my email, which I'll put in the chat as well, is simply ann@rpcv.org. Just make sure you put an E on that Ann. So ann@rpcv.org.
Right. And so one of the things that I always offer after these webinars is access to have a 30-minute session with me. And so so you'll get a link to that in the email that we're going to send out after this webinar. And so, and again, what I really recommend is that you do some of the self-reflection sooner rather than later, and then we can really use that 30 minutes very effectively. And so my career design studio is just a really great way for me to kind of take a look and see what you've done and give you really tailored advice for that. So, so yeah, I mean, our hope was that we could, that we could give a link right now and people could sign up for it, and we could get going. Basically, like I said, we're kind of building a bridge as we're walking down it here, and just realizing that the needs that are happening during this pandemic need some greater support. And for me, for Ann, for NPCA, it's really important that you get the support that you need during this time. And we both remember what it's like coming back in normal times and struggling with finding a job, and to basically be walking into lockdown, into a recession. This is tough stuff. At the same time, there are things that you can do. And that's really what I wanted to have this webinar be about, is what are things that you can personally do that's really going to set you up. And I will say one other thing, and I don't want this to be a sales pitch for my career design studio, because it's not. I'm not trying to get you to buy it, but I created it is because so few people do the work to set themselves up for career happiness. And they take a job that falls into their lap, and then they struggle to find another job that also isn't making them happy. And I speak from experience. So this is a program that I wish that I had had when I was in my 20s. And this is the process that I walk my clients through. So you're getting every scrap of information that you would be getting if you were to come to me and paying $550 to walk through this with you. It's just self-coached rather than being coached by me. It's kind of being coached by me, but in a different way. So, so yeah, I just want you to know that, that, we understand how unprecedented this is, and we're like little ducks paddling just as quickly as we can to make sure that you get the support you need in a timely fashion. And it's going to take a couple days for us to work out everything behind the scenes. So
yeah, let me just add a couple of other quick comments here. I've gotten a lot of messages back from people to add them to the list and to double check and make sure they got on Global Reentry, and I will do so. Sorry, I can't answer quite so quickly all of the individual responses, but I have written them down and I will check on that. Which reminds me of another thing I just wanted to mention to you. I did put in the chat how you could do a search of our directory. First of all, where you find our directory of affiliate groups, but then also how do you find the workplace affiliate groups? And so it's in the chat, but basically on the Global Reentry page, there's a section that says begin your transition by, and there's a few steps that we recommend. And number 2 there is to connect to the local affiliate groups. If you click on that, it'll take you to the directory. And under the search option, you can select the workplace affiliate groups. And that will just boil it down right away to those agencies that have official affiliate groups. Every single one of them has an email that you can reach out to contact them. So I just wanted to highlight that as another option for you. And also, in case you can't remember all that I just rattled off, there's a way that you can right now quickly and easily save the chat. So if you don't know this little trick, somebody pointed it out to me the other day. So when you're down at the chat box where you would type a message in, on the right-hand side there at the very bottom on the right-hand side, you see the little box with 3 dots in it. If you click on that, it gives you an option to save the chat. And then you have all these links and all these questions and the resources that were shared here today. So that's a little tip.
Wow, I did not know that. And there have been times when I'm like, where did it go? So thank you for that tip. So I can stay on for another like 3, and I don't know if you need to go. If there's any other questions, I mean, again, I really want this to be, you know, focusing on your needs here and now. So So thank you for all the thank yous. I just know that we are all rooting for you, and that it's my honor, it's our honor to be able to serve you and to provide you with this information. And so please take advantage of it. We're giving it because we want you to have it. And so that's one of the things that, again, as a career coach, I want to say, if anyone offers to help you and it would be helpful for you, please take advantage of that. They mean it. And again, I say this as someone who has been offered help, and I thought that it would be too much of a bother for them, and I didn't take them up on that. And you're in some ways depriving them of an opportunity to do something that makes them happy. So we really want to make sure that, you know, we're providing this information, and at the same time, please accept it. And that's the role that you need to play, is take advantage of this, and we'll just keep coming back with you with ways that that you tell us are helpful, and so hopefully, if you've got any questions, for me specifically, the best way that you can do that is go to my Facebook group, My Career Design Studio, and actually I can put that into the chat. So I check that on, I'm not on there all the time, but I check that on a daily basis. And so as you're going through My Career Design Studio, that is really the place to ask questions about how to really leverage that. And so there's the link. And so if you already saved the chat, you might need to save it again, or just click on the link and join. And I'll see you there. Again, you'll get a way to connect with me through a 30-minute session with the email that we'll send out early next week. So
thank you so much, Dr. Ansted. Thank you all for participating. Again, we'll both stay on if there are further questions. I'm going to go ahead and cut off the recording, but you will get a follow-up email, and please do respond to the survey and let us know what you need. And we are here to listen and to provide whatever we can to make sure you get to where you want to be in your career and moving forward. So thank you.
Yep. Okay, so good. I'm glad that this was helpful. And so again, any last minute questions, please ask.